Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor. Today we're bringing you a first look at Tier VIII Premium French Battleship Flandre. Flandre? I think I'm getting that one right. My French accent's not bad, but sometimes I don't always nail these, so apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. Anyway, this is Flandre. This is the third entry into the Tier VIII French Premium Battleship contest, following Gascogne and Champagne. And I gotta say, I am not a big fan of Gascogne. I've never really cared for the ship. Champagne does not interest me because of how that play style is. It's very snipery, long range, kind of, we want you to sit at range and be accurate battleship. Richelieu and I have never necessarily agreed, but I really am liking what I'm seeing here on Flandre. So let's have a look, and I'll show you what I mean. For starters, I want to talk about the overall layout of the ship. Right, we're used to seeing Richie with her all forward gun arrangement. We're used to seeing Gascogne and Champagne with the 1-and-1 arrangement. You see here Flandre with a much more traditional ABX turret arrangement for a Tier 8 battleship. This is going to remind you of, let's say, North Carolina, for example. So yeah, definitely worth considering if you're used to that kind of style play. This turret arrangement and I get along pretty well, so I already to me this is already like a gold star for this ship. So as we always do, we'll start at the top talking about survivability. 75,400 hit points. For a Tier 8 battleship, this is insane. This is best in tier, right? This puts Vanguard and Vladivostok in the rearview mirror, which were already the top two in this category. And yeah, this is a lot of HP, guys. I'm really, well, when we get to armor scheme, I'll have to be curious. I will be curious to see if this is because she's so soft, but definitely something noteworthy here. Okay, 44% torpedo protection you see there. Also best in, well, not best in tier, but also very strong. A strong competitor for the tier, let's say. The South Dakota class ships in Tier 8 are basically the best. Massachusetts and Alabama coming in the the high 40, mid to high 40s. This is still mid 40s. 44 is under the slab chat. So for torpedo protection, this ship is nice. There's a lot to like in this box, guys. Like there's a lot of HP. She's got good torpedo protection, but does she have the armor to back it up? Well, 32mm extremities on the bow, and throughout most of her upper works here, certainly the deck armor and kind of what we would consider the casemate armor, the upper belt, let's say. Let's turn off the torpedo bulge here. Main belt, 350mm. That's not too shabby, really. Like, from a belt armor perspective, I can't really complain about this. It does taper a bit down to 275. Let's turn the bow off real quick. She does have a bit of a turtleback hiding in here. You see that 50mm turtleback kind of armor. This is the same kind of way you see the armor scheme drawn up on the German battleships, right? They've got this extra layer in here that the angled plate is a part of this kind of casemate section there. You see. Let's have a quick look at the Citadel. So there's the overall Citadel, again encompassing basically magazine to magazine as you would expect. Not really that exposed. Quite low in the ship. Quite interior. You see none of the Citadel wall actually touches the exterior of the ship. When I put the torpedo bulges back on, you can see that's got that kind of French spaced armor look we're used to seeing over in the French cruiser line. Pretty good sized gap in here. So, the armor scheme for the health pool feels pretty good. Now, she is French. She's 32mm all throughout, right? So all the HE shells in the world are going to pen you. You're going to burn a lot. Like, this is a ship you want to take fire prevention on, guys. Like, to find the points, take fire prevention on this ship. Just trust me on this, okay? But in terms of, is she going to get thumped by Citadels a lot? The answer I'd have to say is probably not. That seems unlikely, let's say. I won't say it's impossible. I haven't played the ship, haven't played against the ship, can't say. But it seems unlikely given her armor scheme. Might be a decent little brawly ship if she can survive all of the secondary fire at short range that's going to pen the rest of her hull. So interesting. I kind of like the armor layout so far. Maneuverability and concealment, 33.5 knots, 9-10 meters there on the turning circle, 16.6 rudder shift. 33 knots is not quite best in tier. Some of the other Frenchies, I think Champagne actually beats this out. But let me tell you, it's up there, right? Like, she's second, essentially. Champagne is faster, but like a half a knot. So this ship's got a lot of speed for the tier. The more I dig into the ship, the more it feels like she's got a little bit of an Iowa in her, right? I mean, armor scheme notwithstanding, you look at the turret layout, the speed. I'm kind of like, this got a bit of an Iowa vibe going, but I'm at tier 8. I kind of like this so far. 9-10 turning circle is, again, it's above average. This is not Vladivostok, but basically it's worse than just about everybody else. So yeah, she's a battleship. She's not going to handle amazing. 16.6 rudder shift similarly is not great. It is above average. So your speed is really good. Your health pool is really good. Your handling, I'd say, is below average, right? You're paying for some of that extra health in the handling department right here. Base detection, this 15.7 obviously is showing with her fancy premium camo that she ships with. Her base detection without that is 16.2. You can rig this ship all the way down to 12.7 kilometers of stealth if you go all in. That's pretty average, right? You're right in the middle of the band there. There's ships quite a bit lower than this, Roma and Monarch, and basically Roma and Monarch. I'm looking at you, but there's a lot of ships in this same vein. Most of the Germans are in this mid to high 12. Vittorio Veneto is 12.7. Alabama is 12.7. So yeah, this is nothing to write home about, right? You're mid-tier, you're a high-tier battleship. You're not going to be the stealthiest thing in the world, but you can get her under 13, which is not terrible. So main battery. Let's talk about why we're really here, right? All right, so French battleships at Tier 8 have come in two variants, right? You have the Gascogne and Richelieu with the 380mm guns, and then you have the Champagne with the 406mm guns. Flandre here is the 380mm variant. These are 15-inch barrels, the exact same 15-inch barrels mounted by Richelieu and Gascogne, although, of course, you see there in a different turret arrangement. Richelieu and Gascogne mounting quadruple barrels, Flandre here opting for triples instead of the quads, but it's the same gun, it's the same caliber, it's the same caliber and the same shell diameter, firing the same shells essentially. These are the exact same damage shells, fire chance, penetration, velocities. It's the same gun performance you're getting out of the tech tree. You just have the turret arrangement is different. That's really what you're quote unquote paying for. I like this turret arrangement. I know some people prefer Richie's all bow-in style. I've never been overly enamored of those. One thing that I want to point out, and we kind of saw some of this in the armor scheme, these turrets, 430 millimeters of armor on the glacis plate. One of the things that Richelieu suffers from a little bit is a little bit of problems with gun-in caps, right? But it's the same, right? It's still the same. So, one of the things, when you play these French destroyers that are all in like this with everything on the bow, there's always, especially with this many barrels in the turret, we always talk about the idea of taking preventive maintenance, and obviously you're taking main armaments modification 1 to try and reduce the amount of downtime when the turret takes an in cap, right? Flandre suffers from a little less of that because her barrels are more spread out. She's got 3 at the stern. There's fewer barrels in these turrets up forward. So there's a lot more to like here in that sense. Maybe it's less of a concern. It's the same glacis plate, but maybe you're not as reliant on it because you've got there's fewer barrels to worry about when you're in these little bow-in fights. But yeah, main battery basically the same. All right, secondary battery. She's got 3 of these 155mm dual-purpose, yes, we'll talk about that more in a minute, dual-purpose turrets running along the center line, 1 forward, 2 aft. It's a lot of secondary firepower, and then it's backed up by a lot of these 100mm dual-barreled little guys along the side. Again, these are dual-purpose as well. That range, 7.6 kilometers, this ship might be a decent secondary ship, right? We see this in some of the high-tier French battleships already, but I've never felt like Richelieu was all that great of a secondary ship. Look at the number of barrels you have on this ship. Look at 7.6 is a decent range, 3-second reload on these 100mm barrels, and then the 152s. The reload there is not amazing, but there's actually an argument to be made that this might be a decent secondary build ship, especially with this health pool. Now, again, the armor scheme works against you, but it's something worth investigating. I'm here to point it. I'm here to point it out, and we can decide for ourselves later when we can actually play this ship on stream and have a look at her. AA defense. This is where I really want to spend a little time talking about Flandre, because Flandre has one of the most punishing long-range anti-aircraft auras I've ever seen in a battleship in this tier. You see there, the range is not the thing. She's a standard 5.8 kilometer long range aura, but she puts up 10 flak puffs in that aura. You generally do not find ships that put this much flak into the air until you get to tier 10. And I'm looking at you, Petropavlovsk and Alexander Nevsky, right? 10 flak puffs at tier 8 is a lot of flak. This ship will see tier 6 carriers, guys. This ship will maul tier 6 planes. Imagine an Ark Royal trying to take his biplanes through that wall of flak. You just laugh at the poor bastard. You're just laughing at him like, have fun, right? No. This is noteworthy, and this is a big deal. This is a lot of flak. You see there also the long range aura, 278, essentially 277 points of damage. That is insane. That is insane. That is a ridiculous long-range aura. This is absolutely best in tier. No other tier 8 battleship can touch this the power of Flandre's long-range aura. Now, the difference is that her mid and short-range auras are not that amazing, right? The mid-range aura coming on the back of the typical 40mm Bofors, but she doesn't mount that many. Only 6 of these little double-barrel mounts, right? By comparison, Iowa, I think, mounts like 40 or 50 of these barrels, right? Of course, Iowa's a tier 8, but you see my point, right? The Americans went all in on these mid-range Bofors guns. This particular French scheme, everything is basically packed into this long-range aura, right? The 152mm guns, the 100mm guns, both of these make up her long-range aura. That is where the punch is. She's got a little bit of punch in the mid-range aura, a little bit of punch in the short-range aura from the little 20mm Orlikons or whatever they are. So, but I mean, so between the continuous damage in the long-range aura and the amount of flak she puts up, this ship is going to be brutally punishing to enemy planes. And I mean, there's nothing in the game, in my opinion, that's immune to a carrier, right? A dedicated, skilled carrier will always be able to get at least one strike off if he's coming at you with a full squadron. That's my opinion. And the math that I've seen seems to bear that out. But this ship is absolutely going to be highly resilient to aerial attack, right? You're just going to laugh at especially if it's a tier 6 carrier. If it's a tier 6 carrier, you're just going to laugh at him. You're just going to be like, sucks to be you, dude. I'm ignoring you, Bring your planes in. I will literally ignore them. So, yeah. Let's go look at consumables real quick while we're here. This is not very exciting. Basically, you have your standard damage control party and a heal, and that's it. No aircraft facilities, no reload booster, no engine boost. This is a ship that basically doesn't bring a lot of utility. You're bringing the guns, you're bringing the survivability, you're bringing that obscene AA, and maybe a little bit of that brawling capacity over in her secondary armaments. I think a secondary build on this ship is worth experimenting with. I will not profess to know for sure if it's going to be any good. Again, I'm always a little suspect. I'm always a little suspicious when I see a ship with this much 32mm armor talking about a secondary build. I'm like, I don't know. Are you sure about that, right? But if you're looking for something that is a decent, probably a good mid-range 15-inch armed battleship with a lot of speed, a lot of ability to relocate around the map and everything, Flandre's looking pretty good right now. This is a French battleship that actually interests me, and I almost never play French battleships. I just don't enjoy them. There are some good ones in the line, don't get me wrong. But when I reach for a battleship, I typically want something with more survivability than the French battleships tend to offer. And this ship carries that baggage with it, but offers me, as my play style, the things that I look for in a ship, offers me enough interesting things that I am curious enough to want to try it. So I'm excited to be able to play this ship when the time comes. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. That's our first look at Tier 8 Premium French Battleship Flandre. Wash your hands, be safe, and I'll catch you next time.